Be with us all.
Got your call.
Yep, that's all right. So, welcome everyone to our first SA District HCAA meeting. Pardon, there's a few teething problems we having here experiencing just with some of the PowerPoint presentations, so bear with us on that. So yeah, listen, welcome everyone. Look, this has been a mammoth exercise, I think, just to get us to this point. As you know, sort of really during the COVID phase, we had a real problem in trying to get together, and also the fact that we have now been able to affiliate ourselves with Nick, who's the president of HCAA New South Wales. We'd like to thank him for all his hard work in bringing us all together, which we are thankful for. We would also like to ensure that this becomes a great relationship in many years to come, and also to the affiliates that have stayed by us all this time and enabled the association to continue. So look, again, thanks to all the affiliates that are in on the slide here, and everybody that's presenting tonight as well. So there's some corporate members there that are part of it. And so listen, I'd like to also talk about the program. Before we sort of get stuck into this, I'd like to introduce our committee members. So we've got the SA District Director, Derek.
Oh, thank you. Hi everyone. Just wanted to also give a warm welcome to all of our New South Wales people that are here tonight, logging in to see our first meeting. Thank you for joining us. We hope that we can continue with a good strength between all states. I'm not sure if we've got anyone from New Zealand with us tonight as well, or anyone from...
You got a Queenslander here, Paul? Well, ex-South Australian / now Queenslander.
We still class you as an SA, so it's all right.
Ah, thanks, guys.
So yes, welcome everyone. Thank you.
Okay, so so basically, yes, Derek obviously looking after the directorship of the SA District. I'm representing being a chairperson, and this will include all Zoom meetings and any face-to-face get-togethers that we have in the future. We've also got online Victor Galo, who's our SA District Standards and Tradeways representative for the HCAA. Victor, do you want to just give us a rundown on your scope?
Yes, hi everyone. As Paul says, so I'm part of the technical committee of the HCAA in SA. So what we have is a Tradeways committee, which sits quarterly with SA Water and other representatives of the industry, including consultants, master plumbers, office of the technical regulator. So, and we as consultants convey our ideas, concerns, and other items to the authorities and SA Water, and we work together, and at the same time SA Water give us information of why some of the decisions will, or why of the guidelines are in place. And so it works as a channel, basically as a communication channel for the whole industry. I'm not going to talk too much about this because we have actually SA Water presenting tonight, right? Paul?
Thanks, Victor. And also Marie, who looks after our training and standards and CPD representation. Marie, do you want to give us a minute rundown on your stuff?
Hi everyone, I'm Marie. So I represent the HCAA SA division in the Water Industry Technical Advisory Committee. So the committee includes representation from state and local governments, water industry entities, employees and associations involved within the water industry and plumbing. So basically the technical regulator chairs the WITAC, which is the abbreviation of the meetings, and we meet twice a year to discuss different issues within the water industry. We had a meeting last month, and I just made a few points of what we discussed. So basically the OTR plumbing regulation report and their audits that they undertake throughout the state. We also talked about different infrastructure standard updates, including the changes to AS 3500 and inclusion of some of these within the PCA. We also talked about the plumbing roadshows and the ECOC updates, and I'll be sending through minutes hopefully this week once I receive them from the team. So yeah, thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Marie. And also we've got Alfie Quick here who might want to say a quick word.
Yeah, hi, I'm Alfie. I've just been, I'll be doing the admin stuff and coordinating with Emily on that stuff tonight and stuff like that. Yeah.
Thanks, Alfie. All right, so tonight's presenters tonight are SA Water, Shannon Ewan, looking after trade waste. We have also got, we've got Ali Rad from Kembla. He will be providing an update on piping systems, and then also Greg Elliott from Embedded Networks on how we can design them better, and he'll be presenting on us what constitutes an embedded network, how we can plan and coordinate them better on our next project. So that's at 7:30. So I think without further ado, and obviously what we'll do is, well, I think we'll save our questions to the end tonight if possible. Yeah, after each presenter. Yep. Okay, so Nick, are you online to?
Yep, I'm here. Sorry, I'm just start video. There we go. Oh, you can hear me all right?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. So yeah, thanks for inviting me along tonight. I guess I'll start. I don't have control of the computer, so you can flick through the slides, but I'll start first of all by just saying thank you to everyone in Adelaide for joining up with us, becoming part of HCAA. I want to make it really clear that we're not, whilst we formed in New South Wales, we're not a New South Wales body, we're a national body. So that means the money that we get each year, the team in Adelaide, or the Adelaide committee, have joined in with we're calling it a national committee while we figure out how we're doing everything. But yeah, they've got full disclosure on how much money comes in, which is about $200,000 a year in member fees from affiliates. So that money is not New South Wales's money, that's national money. So what I really want to do is the water demand study that some of you would know about, that was talked about in our May meeting. Had Deakin University do a presentation on, we've got 4 blocks of units in 2 in Canberra, 2 in Sydney, where we're monitoring water usage live. That was money that we purchased those meters, we own those meters, so you guys own those meters now. And the intention of that is to try and give that information, share it with Standards Australia and the ABCB to hopefully size pipes more accurately in the future. So if anybody in Adelaide comes up with an idea of something on a standard or something you think we could improve, then certainly throw the idea forward. And yeah, we're looking at in the water demand space, we want to purchase some hot water meters to monitor hot water usage in apartments, and then we're going to put that out as a expression of interest to the members, just to see, what you guys think, what the guys in New South Wales think of spending about $25,000 on purchasing some equipment to monitor hot water in one of the units, blocks of units. So anyway, just a bit of food for thought for you all. And yeah, if you have any suggestions on how we can do things better, yeah, don't hesitate to speak up and give us some ideas. So this slide here, for those who sat in last week in the Sydney meeting, I apologise if you get bored running through it all again, but these are just some of the emails we've sent out. If anybody has something they'd like to inform the hydraulic community of, you just need to let Emily know. So Emily, do you want to jump in and just say hi to everyone quickly so they can?
I can. Hello.
Yeah. So this is Emily. She joined us about a year ago now, Emily?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Emily lives on the Central Coast, which is about an hour and a half north of Sydney. Yep. And yeah, you're spending probably anywhere from 1 hour to 10 hours, in an average week, preparing these emails, preparing meetings, and just helping us out. So don't be scared to reach out to Emily. Her email address is inquiries@hcaa.org.au, and we're going to try and update the website to have everybody's emails listed there so we can become a bit more efficient. Okay, so thanks, Em, for introducing yourself. That's good. Thank you. So yeah, from an emails point of view, we've got the diploma, which we've been working on for about 4 years to relaunch with TAFE in New South Wales. Our long-term goal there for the guys in SA is the course is $30,000 to do the diploma in hydraulics. In New South Wales, the government subsidises that by about $22,000, so you pay about $8,000. And then we've launched the cadetship. So the cadetship is currently being sponsored by HCAA via our corporate members, by Vega, and also by Ream Hot Water. So that $8,000, about $6,000 or $7,000 of that is paid for by the cadetship. What we'd like to do long term is get funding from each government or from the federal government. So it's not just people in New South Wales being subsidised. We also get students living in any state being subsidised. So it's an equal playing field, and everybody has access to a good education in the hydraulics field. So if anyone wants to get involved with that, contact us, let us know. And yeah, it's taken us 4 years to get to this point. So I'd say the subsidies will take us another 3 or 4 years to try and get any traction there for other states. So we've got, the draft versions of AS 3500 are all out, but that public comment is now closed. But if you're not getting these emails, it's either because you haven't paid your membership fees yet, or because there are 5 different email categories, I think, and you can unsubscribe. So you can log into the website yourself, make sure you subscribe to all the different types of emails, and then you should be getting all of these emails. And if you're not, contact Emily and we can try and find out why you're not getting the emails. So we need some writers for some of the subjects for the new diploma. There's about 32 subjects. So if you're interested in writing, we did get a grant from the New South Wales government to pay our members. I think it's about $50 an hour, $60 an hour. So it's a reduced rate. But if you're interested in writing some material, get in contact with education@hcaa.org.au. Diploma delivery. So the diploma was meant to be getting delivered this term. It's been delayed till next year. The general meeting invites, for those listening here, what we're trying to do is have Sydney, Adelaide, Canberra in a week after each other. So the initial invite will be to all 3 meetings. You're welcome to attend whichever meeting you want to attend. And then the reminder email is for specific to that city is sent the week before. So you'll get that general meeting invite about a month prior, just so everyone's in on how it works. And then so we've got the CPD events. So the CPD events are fortnightly. If you're an affiliate and you're listening and you haven't attended a meeting before, we have a calendar that's currently booked out till Christmas. The New South Wales government is introducing or has introduced CPD requirements that are mandatory to renew your accreditation in New South Wales. And for that, you require 25 points a year. So on our website, we have a CPD tab. on there will be the calendar for the fortnightly CPD events, which are run at lunchtime from 12 till 1. And the requirements in New South Wales are 25 points a year to renew your accreditation with the government. If the SA government comes out with similar legislation and it's 30 points, we'll amend our policy to be in line with whoever has the most stringent requirements. And then once you achieve your points, anyone, a client, an architect, a builder could look you up on our website and see if you're CPD compliant or not. Or if they want to see evidence of CPD compliance, you can download a certificate from your member portal, and you can send that certificate to whoever it is that wants a certificate for you to show that you're CPD compliant. But again, if it's not a requirement in SA yet, which I'm not aware that it is, you can ignore this. But if it does become a requirement in the future, that's where we believe it's heading, and it is already here in New South Wales. So yeah, just giving you guys a bit more perspective there. Yeah, and I won't run through any of the others, but yeah, if anyone wants to send out an email, just get in touch with Emily. We try and limit them to about 1 a week, so you don't feel like you're getting spam. But yeah, if you want to let the hydraulics community know something, just send it through, and we'll do our best to get it out to the community. Do you want to jump to the next slide, Paul? Thank you. Oh yeah, so that's our CPD calendar. You can see there, we've got a couple of weeks off over Christmas, but essentially it's 1 point for an hour of face-to-face content. And yeah, if you attending tonight's meeting, you'll get 2 points automatically. So Emily will verify that you actually logged in. So you can't just book and not attend. You have to book and attend, and then you'll get 2 points accredited to your name. So whether it's compulsory in Adelaide or not, you're still going to get the points. And then if they do introduce it, then hopefully you'll already have points if it comes into play. And yeah, if you want to do a presentation, just contact Emily. If you're an affiliate, you want to do a CPD session, then contact Emily. So I noticed a few of the guys from Adelaide were there today, but we're getting around about 30 people to each CPD session. So that's, yeah, just to give the affiliates a bit of an idea.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. I think that's the end of the slide that we got.
Okay.
This portion is basically going to be from myself and just general committee members. For those that haven't attended an SA district meeting previously, we sort of try and we have a bit of a set format, but in the same token, and it's no different to what Nick's doing, is that we try and bring up any lessons learned or issues that might be in the industry, and really it's more about getting people thinking about providing a solution or not getting themselves into a position where they are put in a corner and there's no possible solution or out clause. So thought I'd bring this one up for September meeting, and that was really hydrostatic testing of water services. So I've just taken the excerpt out of the standards, where basically the contract is required to undertake a hydrostatic test for 1500 kPa for a period of no less than half an hour. Where the issue comes on is not necessarily with the piping systems that we're using today. It's more about when contractors ask us as consultants that we provided a specification to get them, or asking them to comply with these standards regarding testing. The problem I've found in the industry is that with a lot of the new buildings and apartments and commercial applications, in-wall mixers that are generally specified have a maximum operational pressure of about 1000 kPa. What we've had come back from contractors is that where they're saying they're obligated under AS3500 hydrostatically test the system to 1500 kPa. it sort of made us put our thinking hats on a little bit to really to give them some direction, perhaps not necessarily an obligation or a solution, but to give them an opportunity to enable them to provide or sign a COC knowing full well they complied with the standards. We had a bit of a storm session in our own office, and look, we know, and also with a couple of suppliers, and one option was that you potentially remove and will bypass the mixer via a T-piece or something similar, so that you can test the rest of the water service that isn't subject to, well, that can actually withstand the 1500 kPa static pressure. Look, that was one option. We sort of felt that as a bit of a risk, because it still left two joints potentially untested on either side of the mixer. So with that, again, it is an option, but it still provides risk back to the contract end of the day. And also, you've got to comply with the piping manufacturer's installation requirements. So they're going to want their systems and all their joints tested to 1500 kPa to ensure compliance. So there was another option too, and that was to ensure that architects and consultants specify manufacturers who comply with AS 3718, which is the water supply tapware standard. That standard requires that the tapware must be able to be tested to 1.5 times the operating pressure, maximum operating pressure. And there may be some manufacturers out there that may not comply with the standard. We didn't do any research to find out if there were or there weren't any manufacturers that did or didn't comply. It was more so this is really just to highlight to consultants that they actually do their homework and ensure that what tapware they are specifying does comply. If an architect is actually providing a selection of tapware forward to the consultant to review, it's probably the important thing that if it doesn't comply, it's worthwhile raising this with your client to say that these taps don't necessarily comply, and it may be a risk to the project where firstly, the contractor isn't going to be able to test to 1500 kPa, or secondly, that that'll avoid any warranties that might come about when the contractor does test to 1500 kPa. So my suggestion or our recommendation would be to speak to the tapware manufacturers on their acceptance. Firstly, some do already have it in their technical information that they allow for testing to 1500 kPa, and others may or may not have that information free at hand. So if they don't, it'd be worthwhile checking with the manufacturers to seek an approval to enable at least a one-off hydrostatic test to comply with standards. So yeah, really be aware of the mixers that don't comply, and just ensure that look, last thing you want is a failure on a project where people start looking around looking for answers. So look, we might just leave the questions towards the end on this. It'll allow a few people to at least have a bit of a thought on that, and we might end up move to the SA Water presentation from Shannon. Shannon, are you?
Yep. Hi, Paul. I'll just try sharing my screen, sorry. Can everyone see? Can you see what I've got on the screen, Paul? Yep. That was a nod. Yep.
Hey, Shannon.
So,
You might
Yep.
just want to put it in slideshow mode.
Okay. How's that?
Perfect. Good job.
So I had a little think today about what it is that would be useful for me to talk to you guys about, and I guess in the time that I've got allocated, I felt like what might be most interesting is to talk a little bit about future trade waste compliance at SA Water, trade waste smarts, and I guess some of our recent experience as it relates to COVID on a number of fronts. So I guess as it relates to future trade waste compliance, one of our priorities for the next period is going to be, I guess, updating our restricted wastewater framework. So what that document is essentially a customer charter as it relates to our trade waste customers here in SA. So it's all the I guess it's all the broader procedure and how everything works from go to woe if you're a trade waste customer. Most people don't realise this, but there's also trade waste charters for residential customers as well. They tend to be a little bit like say a mobile phone contract. I think everyone accepts the terms and conditions and no one bothers to sort of read through the pages and pages and pages of specific material, but just so you know, it is there. Sitting to as an aside to that is many of our trade waste fact sheets and guidelines. So many of them are quite dated now, and in a recent, I guess, technical committee session, you know, it was further exposed that we've got a number of trade waste guidelines and fact sheets now that are needing some update, and they're not just cosmetic updates. There's some reasonably significant reviews that need to be done. And just on those 2 points, I guess I just wanted to highlight, even though it's sort of hidden a little bit on my screen at the moment, being the presenter, that we do work pretty hard at SA Water, particularly in the last handful of years, to be making sure that we're getting the technical feedback that we need to make the best decisions that we can. So if you've got any feedback or if there are certain elements of our fact sheets and guidelines that have been grinding your gears, then it's important that you provide that feedback through to Victor or Paul or any other member of our technical committee that provides valuable input into those technical reviews. One of the bigger things that we're I guess up to at the moment is we're reissuing almost all of our trade waste authorisations due to some changes that we're implementing. So, and one of those key changes is there's significant trade waste incentives and disincentives that will shortly come into effect. So things like when you maintain your grease arrestor, as an example, if you're failing to do that or you're doing it well, potentially there'll be incentives or disincentives financially through the normal trade waste, I guess, doings as things go on throughout the course of the years. So you'll see on the bottom left of your screen on my presentation that there's something that resembles a QF code there. So the majority of our trade-based customers are now issued those tags, and that helps us. That's just one little thing that we're doing to help keep a bit of an understanding on how well the trade-based compliance and maintenance activities are going. So we didn't share this at the committee, but recently we did review some of that information, and you know, it's almost this is recently rolled out, but almost half our customers don't reliably do it or don't do it at all. So that you know, that's a reasonable proportion, and it helps reiterate why we're wanting to invest a little bit. We're making some improvements in that area because, as you can imagine, if you want one of the 50% of customers always doing the right thing, it becomes quite irritating when your competitors don't do the right thing. There's also some well-considered trade waste related incentives and disincentives regarding discharge performance. So in South Australia, we've got a tier of customers that pay on the basis of their volume and quality going to drain. And there's I guess a series of customers that don't, which are cross-subsidised by sewage ratepayers. So those larger customers, those slaughterhouses or those large production facilities, they pay based on their quality to drain. Until recently, there wasn't a lot of incentive and disincentive as it related to keeping compliant or not essentially just flooding the sewer with whatever you wanted and just paying your own way. So there's some reasonably significant reform in that area. So I guess just to wrap up on future compliance, I think there's going to be a lot of reform on the fact sheets and guidelines. We've got one of the largest depositories out of any water retailer as it relates to our fact sheets and guidelines. It's not necessarily because we like telling people what to do all the time, but we do find that in some key areas it helps provide some good context in terms of what we're expecting when we receive applications. Couple of the familiar faces I can see on the attendee list are always really good at coming in nice and early and discussing proposals at a draft stage. Again, we're a little bit unusual compared to most retailers. We're not charging anything as it relates to people coming in and discussing draft proposals. So there's no need for that to be a barrier. And please use the team's services to benefit the proposals that you're actually putting forward. One other key segment or aspect to my portfolio, and I probably should have explained this at the start. I'm the Trade Waste and Networks Manager at SA Water, and I do look after not just trade waste compliance, but some other discreetly separate teams at SA Water. One of them, one of these teams is our sampling and monitoring team, and what they do is they really are accountable for a very significant swag of instruments as it relates to both water and wastewater infrastructure. So SA Water in this next period of time, which is our regulatory period, is the next 4 years, starting a couple months ago, have invested very significantly as it relates to upping our instrument level, both in the water networks and the wastewater networks. So previously, I've given a presentation on sort of wastewater instrumentation. That's the kind of stuff that we're talking about here. The team are sort of rapidly expanding the kind of equipment that they've got, the diversity of the equipment that they've got, so that we're able to more dynamically update our models to understand how much capacity are in certain pipes. In the water space, we've invested very significantly recently in acoustic instruments and instruments we can use to not necessarily use for dynamic modeling purposes, even though you can use it for that, but to more proactively listen and use other technologies to quantify when we've got water leaks or unusual water performance or bursts about to happen that we can intercept in time. So yeah, there's a significant increase in that amount of equipment. We're more than, I think it's about tripling that in the next period, so that we can get a better understanding on how all those things are actually unfolding. I'm not sure how I'm going for time, but the last key topic that I just wanted to approach with you, assuming it affects at least our immediate performance, is I just thought I'd share some information with you regarding the COVID impacts and how that's affected us a little bit in the wastewater or trade-based space. So I've got a little graph on the screen that was more just to demonstrate under normal circumstances, we have sort of diurnal performance curves or profiles in terms of how we would conventionally see wastewater in our networks, and when we see the volume of material and when we don't over the course of a day. I was asked a question recently, has that changed? Particularly with a lot more people working from home. And I didn't know the answer, so I went and got it for the sake of this presentation. And it hasn't changed significantly, but what has changed is instead of getting a weekday residential and a weekend residential profile that is similar, but the times of day are different, we end up with a more blended profile under sort of lockdown and COVID environment, where it's hard to distinguish between weekday and weekend. You got much broader profiles over that period. We have noticed some increase in wastewater blockages, particularly within residential areas, but not significant increases associated with the high flow. The high flow is probably in those cases just exposing where we might have had existing issues, and the high flow is more or less exposed us for that, whether it be tree roots or other issues. Another key activity we've been performing for Department of Health is we've been doing all the COVID testing, that is in the sewage COVID testing. So what does that mean? It means that we take wastewater samples from our wastewater treatment plants, but we've also been involved with doing wastewater testing from some of the hotspots, some of the hotels where people are quarantined, and essentially collecting those samples and submitting them to test for waste RNA associated with dead virus, and what that helps Department of Health do is essentially get an understanding in terms of where some of the infected populace is, without the need for people to be testing. I believe we're not the only water retailer doing that, by the way. I think that's a fairly stock standard thing many retailers across the board are actually doing in terms of sewage retailers. And I guess lastly, we've had to change the way that we offer some of our services, and we hope that we're still providing a decent service as it relates to the quality service you get when you submit application forms or ask for advice or help. However, we have been stretched a little bit, being a critical function, a critical essential service function. My team's more or less split in two, where the two of us are not really allowed to interface, so that we've got adequate contingency such that if we do need to quarantine for whatever reason, we've got other areas of my business that are able to take on at least the base level of workload that's necessary to keep our wastewater networks and trade waste services functioning. So that was it from me.
Thanks, Shannon. Appreciate that. Well worth the information, I think. And it's interesting that what that graph actually showed. Are there any questions from anybody that back to Shannon? Cool.
Actually, I've got one for you, Shannon. Shannon, what's been the maintenance requirements now during COVID-19 and the issues with non-toilet paper going down the drains? Have you had an increase of maintenance over the last 6-8 months?
Yeah, I would have thought that we would have, but a lot of that information is very difficult to get in a granular enough level that you can sort of apportion and blame. So, and what I mean by that is we get a typical and a quite high rate of debris contamination within our networks, and we have done the last few years now as synthetics have become more and more prevalent. So, but it's hard to say for certain whether we've got, and we haven't really had a obvious peaks associated with COVID or lockdown.
Thanks, Shannon. Appreciate that.
Oh, someone else has got one.
We got another question.
It's from Joel.
No, it's hi Shannon. Doesn't actually have anything there.
Just asking.
There we go. Due to COVID, has SA Water extended service frequency to customers?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So I'm assuming you mean service frequencies as it relates to grease arrestor or pre-treatment service frequencies, and the answer is yes.
Okay then. Thanks.
So where businesses have closed or there's good reason or they've got diminished production as it relates to maybe only being open for certain times a day when they used to be open full time, then we have to make logical adjustments to what we're expecting of those customers.
Okay, thanks. Any other questions at all out there? Okay. All right.
Thank you.
We might move on to Ali, who's presenting on behalf of Kembla. Ali, are you actually there?
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Thank you, Ali.
Thank you. Thank you for having us, and thank HCAA for giving us this opportunity. I am the specification engineer at Kembla, and my background is mechanical engineering and project management. I have visited many of you last year, so this might be, I apologize in forward if some parts are repeating for you. We just wanted to use this great opportunity in first official meeting in SA to provide you with some update on our integrated piping system and project specific warranty for this system. So I normally deliver this in 6-minute presentation, so tonight I'm gonna use the short version, special version for SA. Let's start with some I'm not sure. Can you hear the audio from my system?
Hey Ali, it's just Emily here.
Yep.
If you've got some audio on there, if you just quickly stop sharing your screen, and I'll just talk you through the audio part of it.
No, it's I can skip that part.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
No worries.
Just to give you a picture about our business now. At the moment, we are the only copper tube manufacturer left in Australia after Crane shut down a few years ago. At the moment, we manufacture 87% of our copper tube in Port Kembla. Last year, we sold 3.2 million lengths of products, and we also export 26% of our products to Hong Kong, Singapore, New Zealand, and Middle East. We own our distribution network. We take care of more than 1,000 deliveries per week to 2,000 different locations across Australia. A few years ago, we came up with this idea of a project-specific warranty for our clients. As you know, we do not sell anything directly. So instead, we've decided to offer free technical services to our clients, including consultants, contractors, and installers and developers. So we came up with this idea of a project-specific warranty available at any stages of your project life cycle for everyone. So this is a type of warranty with flexible terms, which can be adjusted to meet your project requirements. And it's not a fixed product warranty, it's something additional to that. And it comes with some liability and damage compensation package. As a project manager myself, I'm familiar with challenges you designers and some contractors have at the execution stage. When something happens, everyone would point their finger at each other. It's hard to deal with multiple suppliers. So we've decided to come up with this for our integrated piping system so you could use it and deal only with one supplier and one warranty for your integrated piping system. And there were a few successful examples that we used this one. One of the most successful examples was Sunshine Coast Public University Hospital, 1.8 billion development. We supplied over 130 tons of tube and fittings for plumbing, mechanical, and medical gas services. And we also offered a 25-year warranty to Beavis & Bartels as the main contractor. It also came with a long-term fixed price to control project costs for the contractor. And we also offered the same 2 years ago to Jewel Gold Coast Towers. And again, we offered this to Beavis & Bartels as the main contractor, covering copper and stainless tube, copper and stainless fittings, and capillary fittings. And last year, we offered the same to Sky City Casino. This time, we also offered this to Lucid as the main consultant. And so these were the successful examples. We offered this one. Last year, we received a lot of inquiries. The procedure is very simple. There's a request form available on our website. And we just need some basic information on design temperature, design pressure, and the medium. And within 3 to 5 working days, we evaluate it at our intern. We have a quality lab and a technical team in our factory. After 5 working days, we are able to issue a warranty letter specific to your projects. If you were interested in the form, you can check our website. And just to give you an update about our integrated piping system, as you know, the piping system, there are 2 critical factors in it: performance and reliability. Most of these items are hidden behind expensive finishes. And when something happens, it's very difficult to damage control. And a single failure could lead to a catastrophe. So that was the main reason we decided to create a project-specific warranty for the whole piping system we offer. Our core product is still copper tube. It comes in different varieties, 1432 for plumbing and gas, 1571 for HVAC, refrigeration, and medical gas, 1572 for engineering and OEM purposes, and the new range 4041, the extra strength high pressure range for refrigeration and CO2 projects. They are all available from sizes from 5 mil to 250. And as you know, in copper tube, one of the most important factors is eccentricity. In simple words, eccentricity is the degree of variation in tube wall thickness. So the lower, the better. And in order to have the proper eccentricity, you need to control your manufacturing process strictly. For this reason, a few years ago, we added a sophisticated laser-based technology called ChemCore technology to our production line. And with this technology, we control the eccentricity across all lengths of our products. Most manufacturers, especially Asian manufacturers, they only control the eccentricity in every half a meter or every 30 centimeters. So with this technology, we are able to control it across all lengths. And eccentricity is critical in press fittings because equal distribution of press force is required for consistency in press fittings. And the low and high eccentricity sometimes could cause pinching and collapse in tubes in press fittings. At the moment, one of the biggest problems in construction industry is non-conforming products, and time to time we hear about some failures because of non-conforming products. So I think as a designer and as a contractor, we strongly recommend you to check the standards and to check the eccentricity, especially in tubes, because many products claim they are 1432 certified, but in practice, unfortunately, a lot of them, they do not meet with wall thickness requirements as per 1432 and cleanliness requirements as per 1571. We also have a wide range of stainless products available in our IPS. Our stainless type is 316L, the low carbon version for improved corrosion resistance. Our stainless tube is roll formed and TIG welded manually, and all of them are fully annealed, and they are made of German. We also have an extensive range of HVAC and refrigeration solutions and tubes. This is the new range we added last year. They are called Chembla Eco XS range. It comprises of Chembla XS, which is the 60 bar tube, and Talos XS, which is the perfect solution for 120 bar applications like CO2 transcritical systems. I don't expect a lot of you to design HVAC and refrigeration systems, so I would skip this part because of time limitation. If you were interested in HVAC products, let me know. I can send you some additional technical information later. And our fittings include Chempress copper and copper alloy press fittings, Chempress stainless fittings, copper capillary fittings, and refrigeration fittings. All fittings for plumbing are watermarked and produced as per 3688. There are some misconceptions among government entities and authorities, especially in Queensland, SA, that press fitting is not a reliable technology, but I'm sure you know better. The culture is changing fast. These days in Europe and US, you hardly find a braze project. And we are very happy with the progress here. At the moment, I think 40 to 40% of residential and commercial, they use press. but there's still a long road, and we are working on a daily basis with government authorities in Queensland and SA to assure them that, like any other new technology, press fittings can be reliable, and you can reduce the risk to zero if you follow some certain safety measures and design and installation guidelines. Our press fittings, they have some unique features. One of them is this push and stay feature. In simple words, it means the fittings are tight enough that you can leave them in vertical joints without sliding. This is a very handy feature for plumbers when they are about to complete the rough-in. And in order to have this, we had to reduce the tolerance to 1/3 of tolerance allowed in 3688 to have this feature. We also have a full range of lead-free silicone bronze fittings. After that incident in Perth Children's Hospital a few years ago, we've decided to bring lead-free solution for clean water and drinking water systems. So if you were interested, I can provide you with the more details or silicone bronze fittings. And of course, leak path. Leak path is another useful feature, although you cannot rely on it solely, but leak path is another useful feature and it's effective as a visual inspection method. And on benefits of press fitting, as you know better, they are considerably faster. You do not need to drain water out of the system, and you do not need hot water permit in press fitting. So comparing to brazed, these are the advantages. You can save up to 30% on labor and full installation costs whenever you switch to press fittings in residential and commercial projects. And these days, from bushfire affected areas, we receive a lot of inquiries on press because of the safety. We also have stainless press available. These are perfect solution for potable water, processed water, gas, and high temperature industrial applications. Again, these are made of 316L, the low carbon stainless, with a minimum of 10.5% CR. And these are a perfect solution for high pressure applications up to 40 bar in a small sizes. So you can comfortably use them in a variety of applications. And because of the technological advancement, the price difference between a stainless and copper is not that significant these days. So as it is for designers, this is not a fancy, expensive solution anymore. And sometimes you can save if you use it in the right place. Sometimes you can, for example, you can replace 2 copper lines with 1 single stainless line inside risers, or wherever you need higher pressure or higher flow. And on pull-out test and burst pressure test, I just want to add that some designers, they think press is not reliable because of the pull-out test and burst pressure test. But in practice, our press fittings pull-out test is nearly 2 megapascal, which is 400 kPa above whatever is required in 3688. So, and they're certified to 2 megapascals. So this means they are very reliable for plumbing projects. And they come in 3 different O-rings, EPDM black O-ring for water application, HMBR yellow O-ring for gas, and FKM red O-rings for high temperature and solar applications. We also have a wide range of refrigeration fittings, but again, I will skip this part. To assure designers and government authorities, we came up with this risk minimization plan last year to show them that if you follow certain rules and if you use some safety measures, you can reduce the risk in breastfeeding projects to almost zero. I will only go through titles. This risk minimization plan has 5 different stages. We normally run some technical presentations and training sessions for T1 and T2 contractors. It is a part of our national training program, and we deliver this in details to the contractors and installers. It has 5 major stages: fittings, tool, tube, installation, and system warranty. For example, on tool, these days, it is very important to get a tool with universal compatibility that you can use with fittings left in your stock, or sometimes you have some fittings left over, and you shouldn't worry about the tool you use. So we are very happy to sit with our competitors to come up with a national, universal compatibility plan. At the moment, 80% of suppliers agreed on this, and we are able to provide you with a warranty letter for our tool and fittings that you can use with 80% of products available in the market. We also have Paracoil manufactured to 1571. They are fully compliant to AS 1430 for thermal performance and AS 4859 for thermal performance and 1530 for fire hazard properties. And a few years ago, we added a full range of insulation to our integrated piping system. They are made by Le Isolante, the Italian manufacturer, and the brand is K-Flex. They come in different varieties: tubular, self-seal, sheet, and accessories and adhesives. They are fully compliant to new NCC requirements and 4859 and 4030. And we also have an extensive range of supports, including rubber-lined zinc plate pipe clamps, titanium alloy clamps, base plates, and galvanized hammerhead bolts, and also pipe saddles for insulation, for insulated lines. Because of our manufacturing capabilities, we are able to provide you with some modified solutions specific to your project. So if you were looking for a certain solution for copper or stainless, you can contact me or our technical team. We have a small engineering department here, and a part of my job is to review your specifications and requirements and provide you with a proper solution. And last but not least, we have stainless 316L stainless drainage solutions, including outlets and channels for a variety of applications. So that was pretty it. This was our integrated piping system. If you're interested in project-specific warranty, you can shoot me an email or check our website. My email address is arad@kembla.com. I would be more than happy to take care of your inquiries. Thank you so much. Any questions?
Thanks, Ali. Paul's just unfortunately stepped away for a minute, but there are a couple of questions that that we have.
Let me stop sharing first. Sorry.
Paul's just come back. I'll get him to ask the questions.
All right.
Okay. So, Ali, the couple of questions are, why can't pipework for plumbing and gas installations be fitted with pipe caps as per the mechanical pipework to ensure piping systems are kept clear of debris?
Sorry, let me bring the chat section. Okay. Sorry, what was the question again?
The question is, why can't pipe work for plumbing and gas installations be fitted with pipe caps as per the mechanical pipe work to ensure that piping systems are kept clear of debris?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because I can tell you one of my experiences. It's mainly because of cleanliness requirements as per 1571. Because AS 1571, it calls for a certain level of cleanliness, and our tubes have been acid washed and cleaned before capping. So to make sure there's no debris or items left inside the pipes, we cap them just to assure the installers and contractors that these have been acid washed, cleaned, and ready for use. And it's critical in medical gas systems, but in HVAC systems and refrigeration systems, you shouldn't have any dirt or any oil left. That is the main reason. But as a project manager a few years ago, I was working on W for multiplex, and we ordered some 1571 tubes. It was imported product. And when we received the tubes, we found some cigarette butts inside the cap tubes. So, and that messed with everything. And it was a disaster for me as a project manager. So that is the main reason we capped them, to make sure there's nothing inside. Yeah.
So there is a reason why you wouldn't do plumbing piping systems, because plumbing piping systems that are used to transport potable water, these are under the standards, we need to disinfect each one before they come into service. So would it be beneficial to the plumbing industry that these systems are actually provided with caps as well?
Absolutely. I mean, I would definitely bring this in our next product development session. At the moment, I'm sure we do not do. We send them wrapped.
Yes.
We send them plastic wrapped. But I would definitely bring this, and I will discuss it with our manufacturing team. If there was no, technical obstacle, in our next meeting, I will provide you with some feedback on this. Alfie asked this, so I can in our next meeting, I will give you some feedback, and I will send KBR some replies. But at the moment, I know that we do not do it, and I've never seen any international supplier doing it for plumbing.
No, I understand that. It's just that obviously you see the contractors, some tend to manage keep their piping systems clean during construction, but I've seen sites where that particular pipe has been thrown on the ground, it's covered in mud, and then hence it's been put into service as a potable water supply. So obviously it's just something that we raised really just to make you aware of it. That was all. There is another question, I believe. Can you remove the Bluetooth feature on the crimping tool to enable it to be used on a defence security site?
Unfortunately, on our new tools, it's not possible, but I'm sure we still have some of our old tools. So again, I will check. James Abbott is our sales manager, or SA sales manager. I would ask James to send you a list of stock availability on those old tools. But unfortunately, on our new generation of tools, we have Bluetooth on all of them.
Okay, thank you.
And it can't be removed. The module is integrated.
Okay, right, yep.
It can't be removed yet.
Any other questions before we move on to Greg? Okay. Going to work.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Ali. Appreciate it. Thank you.
If you had any technical queries, let me know. Thank you. Have a great night.
Thank you. Now we've got Greg Elliott. I'll leave it to you to go with it, Greg.
All good. Thanks very much, Paul. Well, firstly, thanks very much to HCAA South Australia for letting me do a presentation. For those who don't know me, I'm an ex-Adelaide boy. There we go. You can take the boy out of Adelaide, but you can't take Adelaide out of the boy. Know the Coopers family pretty well too. The dark side of the family. Used to go to church with my dad down in Halifax Street. So now what we're doing tonight is just doing some basics in embedded hot water design. I think everyone understands that in high-rise apartments, embedded hot water plants are becoming a lot more popular with developers. Good reason for that. They get a free hot water plant, they get it installed for nothing, they get free hot water meters and a AMR system for reading those meters, and the consumers get billed an embedded hot water rate. Embedded hot water is unregulated in Australia. So there's some good suppliers and there's some not so good suppliers. In New South Wales, there's been some people that are in embedded hot water that are also tied in with a developer, and they profit share with the developer, and those people are tied into 30-year contracts, which I think is pretty unethical. My history up until about 6 or 7 weeks ago, I was the national hot water manager for Wind Connect. Wind Connect's an embedded electric and hot water supplier. So I looked after the whole country. There's some good states when it comes to designing embedded hot water systems, and there's some states that aren't doing it as well as probably what they should. So what's an embedded hot water network? I'll just minimize this because all I can see is my ugly head. There we go. There's currently a variety of different systems that can be offered with an embedded setup. They're all very similar to layout, but some of these systems include fully serviced, which is basically the supplier pays for the plant, they pay for the installation, they pay for the hot water meters, they pay for the AMR data collection. Then there's what's called a bulk hot water setup, where the developer pays for the hot water plant and the EN provider covers the hot water meters and the AMR. And then there's a hybrid serviced hot water where the developer installs the plant and gets it purchased back by the EN provider before practical completion. There's another option which isn't as common, but in states where there's been embedded hot water for a long time, it's starting to kick off basically at the end of these contracts. And that's where a billing agent steps in, supplies their own meter reading, whether it be manual or whether it be AMR, to the unit occupiers. And basically the metered tariff is split based on usage. There's no other fees involved apart from collecting the data and distributing the bills. And normally that would be $6 to $15 a billing cycle. So for consumers, that's the cheapest option. But developers, they prefer when they get all the stuff for free. Pardon me. There's lots of different styles of plants that are being provided by the EN providers. Some of them are gas-fired instantaneous, some are commercial heat pumps, some are solar preheated gas-fired centralised plants, and some even have heat scavenged from HVAC to any of those above. And in recent times, three-phase electric is starting to creep in, where all the hot water infrastructure is not required, and it's purely just cold water feed into those apartments. There are issues with instantaneous electric, and for anybody who's lived in an apartment that's got an instantaneous electric hot water plant involved, they don't have great flow rates, but they're getting better slowly as time goes by. Expenditure from the EN providers is limited. So in some jobs, in some states where the plants designed are super, super expensive, quite often the developer will get upset because he misses out on some money and has to start paying for some stuff himself. gas infrastructure in New South Wales, where Gemina is, I know it's a different kettle of fish in South Australia. There used to be a model where individual apartments had their own gas meters, and they were supplied at the gas meter at 5 kPa, and then there was a second stage rig after each meter. The embedded suppliers have no meters apart from the volume boundary meter, and so the gas design must be based on a 1.1 minimum to 2.75 maximum for the whole system, because basically all the cooktops are unmetered gas, which has advantages and disadvantages. The main advantage being is each unit doesn't have to pay a daily supply fee for a meter. I'm not sure how it works in South Australia, but it's been a while since I've been involved with gas down there. But normally in an embedded network, they prefer any retail that's in a development to be plumbed out of the VBM. So it would have a tee-off in the gas meter area before the main volume boundary meter, and each of the retails would have their own gas line going to them. That was mainly for freedom of choice, because retailers, because they use a lot of gas, normally prefer to have freedom of choice of the gas supply they can choose. The hot water infrastructure, if centralised plants are utilised, they're very, very little difference from any other system. Some of these includes requirements for hot water flows on each floor and install roof hatches with meters outside each apartment. Now, I know that was written into the 2018 standard, and there's a good reason for that. And that's because in some states, they were putting meter cupboards up to 15 to 20 metres. So when I say meter cupboards, they're putting riser cupboards 15 to 20 metres away from apartments. And the dead legs were phenomenal. And I was talking to the guys last week at the HCAA in Sydney. There's some sites in Sydney where apartments were waiting 2 to 3 minutes for hot water supply. That's just unacceptable, especially with water conservation, energy conservation. Those people were paying for every single cold litre of water that came out of their line. So it's something that in some states they really need to look at. I understand in some states that they like to run the hot water risers inside the apartments, and that's fine. But with the increased popularity of serviced hot water, one of the problems they have if they run inside the apartment, if somebody doesn't sign up for hot water or refuses to pay their bill, they've got no way to shut it off. So this is why having a hatch outside each apartment on a serviced hot water job is probably the preferred option for a serviced hot water provider. The EN providers also supply check meters for gas and water to gauge efficiencies of their plants. Right, responsibilities of the designer. I mean, these are very, very flexible, but if you know that you're doing a high-rise development, the first thing you should be doing is finding out from the builder or from the developer, do they have plans to go with an EN service provider? Because some of the providers have restrictions in their contract with the developer as to what they want, as e.g. Recirculated lines each floor with roof hatches, and they also vary from the old traditional designs of having higher gas pressures going up to meters in individual apartments. And as I discussed previously, while it's not a requirement, consider the consumer who's going to be in that apartment or could be in there for many, many years, and those dead legs running to their apartments. It is the biggest issue for serviced hot water providers is poor dead leg designs going to apartments. I got asked last week, what is the main requirement of serviced hot water providers? I don't know of all of them, but I know at Wind Connect, they requested that the dead leg lead time to the most disadvantaged fixture was no longer than 30 seconds. And the main reason for that 30-second period is they know that if it was greater than 30 seconds, people start ringing up and complaining. And they understand they're paying for the water and they're paying for the energy. Why aren't they getting hot water quickly? As I was saying previously, if you have a project where there's multiple services in a building, either residential and serviced apartments / a hotel, you really need to look at having a separate hot water plant and gas system for each. The owners of the serviced apartments don't like paying embedded hot water bills. They want to have it on one and they'll pay for the lot themselves, but they also want to have it so they can sell it down the track, which means in most of those cases, you have to allow for metering to go in, whether it be using blanks or actual meters that later can be converted to an embedded hot water plant. Okay, I'm pretty lucky in the respect that I don't think there's any embedded suppliers in on this meeting like there was last week. Realistically speaking, the cheapest for consumers is a straight billing agent who splits the bills and evens that bill out over the whole building. The best for the developer is going to be embedded hot water because they get so much stuff for free. Normally, they're also tied into an embedded network for electricity, and very shortly you'll be seeing embedded networks for HVAC. There is already in place embedded networks for IT, which are starting to catch on. But all of these have a profit margin involved. And because of that, sometimes the consumers miss out. So is there any questions? No, we're good. All right. Well, thank you very much, gentlemen. I will send an email address through. I've started on Monday with a company called Ozmeter. We do metering of not just embedded networks, but body corporates and billing agents who want to supply a broken down bill to body corporates. Oh. Well, there we go. Topic 3, embedded networks. There we go. But if there's anything I can do, I'll send an email through probably in the next 24 hours. If there's anything I can do to help you out in your decision-making process on how, if you'd like to use embedded networks or not, by all means, give me a call.
Thanks very much, Greg. Great presentation. Something I was going to mention, and that was, and you mentioned about 30-second dead legs, the length of some of these dead legs being up to 2 to 3 minutes. Has the embedded network operator considered the use of any heat trace systems to limit that? And would that, obviously it's a cost implication, but is it, could you see that being a benefit to that sort of an embedded network system?
Well, the big problem is normally when these systems have gone live and people start complaining is the building's brand new and they've got all their ceilings in place. The only way to run heat trace is to pull ceilings out, and that becomes quite expensive. At the end of the day, most of the embedded suppliers will just say to the customer, I'm sorry, that's the way your building was designed or installed. It is a poor design. Now, that of course creates issues politically, because if they go back and complain to the developer will say, what do you mean I've got a poor design? And then people start asking questions. Why has it been designed that way? Or why has it been installed that way? And it does become a bit of a poo fight. The simple thing is to look at the design to begin with and say, well, really, 30 to 40 seconds, is it more than that? And I mean, I've had a chat with some consultants and said, mate, I've seen your design, it's a 2-minute lead time. And they go, oh no, my calculations show. And when you go back and redo the calculations, you go, well, here's my calculations. And yes, the calculations are a 2.5-minute lead time and they're waiting nearly 3 minutes. In saying that, sometimes it comes down to, in fact, not sometimes, but regularly, it comes down to poor installation. If there's balancing valves involved, I find there's very, very few plumbers who actually know how to set up a balancing valve. The vast majority of them wind them open fully and hope like hell that the pump will be able to pump through that line. And multiple times I've had to sit down with plumbers and say, feel this line. Does it feel like it's 65 degrees to you? No, it feels like it's 30 degrees. So what are you doing? What are you doing to fix it? And they look at you blankly and go, oh, what am I supposed to do? I said, balance your balancing valve. And they look at you blankly again. So it's really difficult. And the way that, because AS 3500 really hasn't had a clear and defined path on designing multi-story recirculated systems, the plumbers have got an out. They just say, hey, it's not in the standard. Yeah, I don't have to do anything. So it becomes very, very difficult. But 30 seconds, I know from 5 years of working for Wind Connect, that's when they start complaining. It'd just be good if the designers could look at it and go 30 seconds max, and then the government wouldn't have to get involved. The Ombudsman in Victoria and in New South Wales are getting smashed with complaints because of, I won't say poor designs, because there is no code. It just says as short as possible, but it's cheap designs. And I understand why they do it, because some designers, that's how they get the work. So.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. Yeah, look, I suppose it's state specific, or as we know that the standard says about the location or the accessibility to apartment type hot water isolation valves and meters, like you alluded to before. I suppose it's, when we start talking about good design practices, it's trying to also firstly try and get an architect to place the wet areas closer to common corridors, where you can actually reduce the pipe lengths, where you're obviously required to put the isolation valve, and obviously preferred meter location outside the apartment, which reduces pipe lengths. But usually, as we know, architects go, well, let's just spread all the wet areas out so they're a good 15 metres apart, and see how we go. And of course, us as designers go, well, it's not going to give a good outcome to this project. And as soon as you, so that's why I mentioned the heat trace system. As soon as you start, well, okay, we'll put a heat trace system on, in these projects, and there's an additional cost there. Nobody wants to pay for that. So, yeah, I agree that the standards need to be reviewed on what is a good practice, design practice, and how the outcome of that comes, obviously will have to be further reviewed, and whether or not it becomes a something that's addressed not just by the ABCB or the NCC, potentially the local state authorities that obviously have got some control over how these systems are designed.
Yeah, don't get me started on architects. I think we're all on the same boat there. So, but yeah, I mean, it's something that the industry needs to look at as a whole, because I mean, with all the talk of water and energy efficiency,
yep,
I think a lot of people are forgetting this, and high rise are massive users of more energy than they probably should be.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, I can't solve the problems of the world, but I'd love to sometimes, but it might mean shooting a few architects. So.
Right,
but anyway, thanks for everyone for their time tonight. And I would have loved to have been down there doing it live, because Mum did come out of hospital today and gone back home to Cumberland Park. So she could have made me supper. So.
Excellent.
Anyway, I might see you down the track. I'm pushing my new employer to become a new affiliate. And if anybody wants to talk about hot, cold, or gas metering and data collection, let me know.
Okay. Thanks, Greg.
Cheers.
Okay. So let's talk about the next meeting. Even though the next HCAA Adelaide meeting is in Canberra on the 22nd of September, that'll obviously be a Zoom meeting, together with the one in Sydney on the 10th of November. But lo and behold, on the 17th of November, Adelaide are hosting their general meeting from 6:30 to 9:30. And again, we're hoping for it to be a face-to-face catch-up. It's actually been confirmed that it's actually a face-to-face catch-up. And it is for paid members only. So those who have got any outstanding membership fees can we arrange to have these paid. It's at the Adelaide Pavilion, but there will be something sent out for that closer to the date. And we will be doing a set format very similar to what we've done tonight. And we'll try and make it as interesting as we can, obviously with some presenters on the night, and then any open discussions we can generally have. We'll obviously end up having some sort of a meet and greet prior to the startup. So yeah, stay tuned for that. I don't think there's actually anything else that I need to mention, except, yeah, thanks to all the people that joined again tonight, all affiliates, members, all the presenters that spoke tonight. I think the night went well, and look, we look forward to seeing you next time that we catch up. Is there any more questions before we leave the night? Okay, thanks everyone.
Thanks, Paul.